Hello, this is Tatum Allison, and this is my presentation of Week 6's assignment of the reading of Walden Pond and other assignments. Some difficulties I had with this assignment, starting at the beginning, was first of all the pictures. I chose to do pictures with captions for my creative project aspect of this assignment. One of the places that I feel closest to nature at, and this is going to sound really weird, is at the library in Eastland, where I do my Bible study. We go to the library every week after Bible study, and where it's located, it makes it seem like it's in a ghost town almost. And there are lots of trees and other potted and plants and flower beds. And for whatever reason, I feel really close to nature there. However, we went to the library on Wednesday and I completely forgot to take pictures there. So, my backup place that is still makes me feel very close to nature is at the Penitentiary Hollow at Mineral Well State Park and hiking there. And then my backyard and garden, flower beds, and then some of the foresty areas around my current house. So that was my backup plan, and I feel like it went very well. I also had some issues with the formatting. I chose to use Word instead of Google Docs for inputting my pictures, and I feel like I haven't played around with Word as much in the past 2 or 3 months because I have discovered how versatile Google Docs is. And so just doing the pictures and the text boxes were really a lot of altering, of trying to figure out the format of where I want to put the pictures and then going back and putting the text boxes in later. I had some issues formatting the paper because I switched to Google Docs and I typically have it set up beforehand and I didn't. So as I went through the paper, I kept having to make formatting adjustments. And I'm not sure if that was truly a difficulty I had, but it was something that took a little bit longer. This presentation, I had it set up in the PowerPoint area, which is how I usually do it, and then transfer it over to Canva to record and put into a YouTube size presentation format. And for whatever reason, it did not keep my background, so I had to add the some of the graphics that you see on here, and that just took a little bit longer. And then aligning my thoughts with the instructions was kind of hard in the paper because I kept wanting to write about how my experiences and beliefs differ from what we read in the chapter from Walden and the author's experiences at Walden Pond. And while that was part of the assignment, I kept wanting to go into a whole lot of details on why my beliefs differ. And so I had to just take a step back and delete all that and keep going with a more condensed version of it. So those are some of my difficulties I had with my assignment. And then now we're getting into the creative process. I How I thought through my pictures was a little bit different than how I usually do. I just searched nature into my mother's phone, which is what I use to take pictures, and went through the pictures that I knew were from Mineral Wells State Park and from around my neighborhood, my garden, my flower beds, and I feel like the pictures went really well, although I didn't really put them in the Word document in a specific like format almost or mental outline, and I feel like I could have done better on that. But I did put the pictures into the Word document a little bit different than I typically do. I put them in and then added a box or a border around each picture, and then the border that I chose also had more of a shadow outline look to it, which I thought was very unique, and I think that went well for my creative process. The text boxes are a little bit different per page. Some are next to the pictures with no arrows. Some are next to the pictures with arrows pointing to the picture that the text box is referring to. And then some are like directly on top of the text box. And I think I like the way that the arrows look the best, but the ones on top of the picture aren't too bad either. After doing this assignment, I feel like I have a lot more insight than I did before I started. So I'm going to break it up in between because the insight I have because of the reading, because I did the creative project, and then because of the critical analysis after the creative project. After reading Walden and the author's thoughts on Walden Pond, where he was, I learned more about the American Transcendentalism and how the members of the American Transcendentalism wrote and how like the American authors wrote at that point in time. One thing I noticed was that their punctuation was horrible compared to ours nowadays, or what I would consider horrible. And their use of language and imagery was almost like poetry in prose form, which was a little different than what I'm used to, but it was still a nice change of pace. This reading was very hard for me to follow because I felt like he was not speaking on terms that I personally can understand very well. It was more abstract versus concrete, and I'm still working through how to process that in my mind. So it was a good experience of a different type of literature for me. Because of the creative project, I now know how to use American Transcendentalism's history and approaches toward life in my personal life, and just seeing how the literature through different parts of history can still be useful and um, like relevant in nowadays society and in my personal life, which was very eye opening for me. Because of the critical analysis, my attitude towards nature has changed a lot. I've noticed I don't really typically have a great attitude towards nature, but after doing this, my eyes are opened, I guess you could say, in that I'm able to understand how my personal life is actually involved a lot towards nature. And I've learned how to tie in what I've learned through different classes into my daily life, which is a bit different than how most assignments are in college, I feel like, or at least in my experience. This has been the American Transcendentalism assignments of week 6 based on the readings of Walden and the author's ideas in the chapter we read about Walden Pond. Thank you so much.